我哋繼續睇《妙法蓮華經》。你睇到呢朵蓮花，你應該仲更加明白點解呢個妙法蓮華經係用蓮花去形容佢嘅。So you look at this picture. Hopefully when you see this picture, you see such a beautiful lotus flower coming out of the mud, but with no blemishes from the mud. The mud doesn't pollute or affect the beauty of the lotus flower. And that's why this Lotus Sutra is such a wonderful sutra. That's why it's called 妙. Wonderful, 妙法, wonderful Dharma. So look at and remember this lotus flower and remind yourself that we are actually very fortunate to be able to read the Lotus Sutra, especially at times like this, turmoil times like this, and given us some really hope, light right in front of us. So actually encourage us, support us, really not to be disappointed, not to be depressed, nor angry or whatever, and strive upward like the lotus flower. 睇完呢個蓮花，睇住呢個蓮花，我哋記得咧當我哋有困難嘅時候，我哋想起呢朵蓮花。蓮花你諗下，佢經過幾大嘅困難喺嗰啲糖泥嗰度，呢啲糖泥一撇撇好黏嘅佢喺個糖泥嗰度經過咁大嘅掙扎，可以衝天而出而仲可以保持嗰種優雅高貴、美麗清高實在語言俾我哋就係喺一個，尤其是我哋而家一個咁亂嘅世界入邊，我哋仲更加要記得佛法，用佛法去處理我哋每日面對嘅問題。咁希望我哋每天就好似朵蓮花咁。Okay? So we continue with the 7 parables of the Lotus Sutra. Okay, so we have done this one last year, these 2 last year. So we have done the burning house last year, we have done the poor man last year, poor son last year. 我哋火宅喻同窮子喻舊年做咗啦，咁今年呢就做咗藥草喻啦。我哋we have done this parable of the medicinal plants just on Saturday. And then 我哋又做咗化 on Sunday. 我又做琴日同前日講咗化成喻啦。So the last couple of days we spent on this parable of the conjured of Castle City. 咁我哋今日咧就睇呢個依諸喻，或者叫繫諸喻So today we'll look at this parable of the assurance for the 500 disciples, which I don't really agree with this word assurance, but I'll tell you what word I would use myself later on. 咁我哋仲有2個計埋今晚嗰個仲有3個譬喻計諸喻或者叫頂諸喻。So the parable of the jewel on the top knot, that is in the chapter of the safe and easy practices, or the safe and peaceful practices I would use. And then 第16品呢就係醫子喻。So the last one is the lifetime of the Tathagata, the parable of the physician. Okay, so let us start today with this 500弟子受記品第八章第8品。咁但係第5個譬喻叫依諸喻或者叫繫諸喻。So this is chapter 8. Chapter 8, and this is the 5th parable. The parable this is the chapter of the endorsement. Really not a word really well explained or described the intention of this chapter. 受記 that this chapter is 受, that means given or foretell or forecast, and 記 is like putting a stamp on your envelope, then you can send it out, right? So your certificate, if you don't have a stamp on your certificate or on your degree, then it's not valid. So this is sort of like a validated endorsement. I would use validate. I just thought about the word validated just now. Validated endorsement. I would use this. The parable of the hidden treasure. So assurance, really, I don't think that is a good word to really describe the real content of this chapter. But we are really not looking at the content, we are looking at the parable. So the parable is the parable of the hidden treasure, the soul-in treasure, or the soul-in jewel. So there are two sections in this chapter, as actually many chapters in Lotus Sutra actually have that same arrangement. Is the first chapter is telling you the story. Why would there be a parable? And what are the circumstances leading up to such a metaphor? And then the second part is the metaphor or the parable, or we call it the simile. Or you can call it the simile. So 喺呢個500弟子受記品啦嚇，係有兩部分啦。一部分頭嗰部分咧就係實在好多法華經入邊好多都係有兩部分嘅。頭嗰部分咧就係講呢個譬喻嘅前緣係乜嘢？點解會講呢個譬喻咧？有啲咩因緣啊？或者在會嘅大眾係咩人啊？咁然後咧就講嗰個譬喻啦咁。咁所以呢個第八品咧都唔係都係一樣嘅，都係有兩個部分咯嚇。咁第一個部分咧就係講佛陀咧如何去授記彌多羅彌提多羅尼子，同埋咧仲有授記嗰個1200個阿羅漢，去將來會成佛。咁就係因為呢個因緣咧，所以就有一個之後嘅譬喻出嚟。So this chapter 5, we actually started off the first section is the validated endorsement of Maitrayani, who will be a Buddha in the future. He was endorsed by the Buddha. And then further on, the Buddha also validated 1,200 more arahants to be the future Buddha. And because of such circumstances, and these congregation members actually, for some reason, they actually told this parable. So that's the second part of this chapter. Okay, so let us look at this chapter then. So the validated endorsement, 受記作佛呵。So 喺呢個咧就係講富樓多彌多羅尼子，富樓多彌多羅尼子。咁富樓彌多羅尼子，佢個名 實在咧就係因為佢係咩咧？佢個媽媽叫維多羅，佢個媽媽叫維多羅。咁啊，印度嗰陣時好流行嘅，就用翻媽媽個名咧，就前面加一個小名，後邊咧加個子落去咧，咁就係啦。咁好似舍利弗啦，個媽媽叫舍利，所以又叫舍利子，又係叫舍利子，可以咁樣叫法。The Purna Maitreya Yani, his full name is Purna Maitrayani, and he is actually the son of Maitrayani. So in the old days, it's actually a very common practice. People are using the mother's name and add a little name in front, and then the son of so and so. So that's where he get his name from. And he is actually one of the 10 great disciples of the Buddha. 佢實在係富樓羅咧，就係實在係佛陀十大弟子之中其中一位嗬。咁佢個名係叫咩咧？佢個名叫滿，呢個名嘅代表嘅意思叫滿慈。Sorry, English speakers. I think I have to finish the Chinese first before I do the English. OK。咁咧，佢個名嘅代表係滿慈，滿慈即係滿滿嘅慈悲咁解。佢整個名嘅意思就係滿慈。咁點解佢有個咁嘅名咧？就係因為佢個媽媽個名維多羅嘅名咧，佢喺梵文嘅意思咧就係叫滿慈，就係慈愛嘅圓滿咁嘅意思。咁喺佛陀嘅10個資深弟子中咧，富樓羅咧就係最叻係乜嘢咧？就係講法、説法第一嘅。咁喺佛陀預言4比丘成佛嘅時候咧，維多羅咧，富樓羅咧，實在都喺在會入邊。佢喺在會入邊咧，佢同所有人一樣，佢去佛前咧頂禮完佛陀咧，佢就企埋一邊。企埋一邊咧，佢好專心聽佛陀同嗰4比丘講授記作佛嘅嘢。咁咧，佛陀咧睇住佢，望住呢個維多羅尼子富樓羅，佛陀咧就深深覺得佢係成熟啦，佢係時候成熟㗎。咁而家富樓羅咧，亦都係點樣啊？亦都喺嗰陣時咧，深受到佛陀嘅所有嘅教導嘅感動。咁佢企喺佛陀離開佛陀唔遠嘅地方咧，企到好正直、好專心、好恭敬咁喺度聽。咁喺嗰陣時嘅在會嘅時候咧，佛陀咧就喺嗰一刻咧就點樣咧？就以佢到於佛前頭面禮足，卻住一面瞻仰尊顏，目不暫捨。目不暫捨即係話隻眼唔離開佛陀，卻住一面瞻仰尊顏瞻仰即係向高望，即係話係一種敬禮咁樣。目不暫捨，唔離開佛陀一秒。因為點解係恭敬。咁然後咧，佛陀咧就點啊？佛陀咧就話就見到佢咁樣咧，亦都佛陀心裏有數啦，知道佢係因緣成熟啦。因緣成熟嘅時候，佢點啊？佛陀就同佢講啦，佢話佢亦都將會成佛啊！佢將會成佛啊！然後佢話隨其壽命常修梵行，隨其壽命常修梵行，說法人中亦復第一啊！為證佛土故，常勤精進教化眾生。佛陀話佢將會成佛，而佢成佛嘅佛土啊，佢成佛之後咧，佢叫做法明佛。佢成佛嘅佛土咧，喺嗰個佛土入邊咧，佢會點樣？好勤力去點樣啊？去教化眾生，去為眾生咧講法。因為點解啊？富樓羅係説法第一㗎。所以佛陀預言富樓羅成佛啦。 咁喺嗰個時候咧，喺佢個佛土咧，佢有教化眾生嘅佛土咧，嗰個佛土叫做善淨。嗰個地方富樓羅成佛嗰個佛土叫成咗佛之後，個地方叫善淨。咁實在你佛土咧，我哋唔好，我哋而家聽完《法華經》，我哋都要明白啦。實在好多佛土嘅，每一個佛有佢自己嘅地方，咪等於我哋每一個人有我哋間屋一樣。咁佢個地方叫善淨啊，點樣啊？至善至正嘅地方。咁喺嗰笪地方咧，嗰啲眾生咧，以咩為食咧？兩樣嘢嘅啫，兩樣嘅啫。第一就係法喜食，即係聽完法啦之後咧就好開心啦，嗰種喜悅啊，叫法喜食，即係聽法。聽完富樓羅講法之後，即係聽完法明如來講法之後咧，佢就好開心啦，就係。我哋唔使要食麵，唔使要食飯，唔使要食餃子嘅，係聽法，以法為喜悅嚟。咁第二咧就以禪悅為食啊。咁呢個咧禪悅為食，大家打坐嘅都知道啦。啊，當我哋打坐嘅時候，我哋根本就唔需要食咁多嘢。好啦，咁呢個咧就喺善淨土入邊咧，嗰啲眾生咧就係以呢兩樣為佢哋嘅食物嘅，唔係好似我哋世間人、我哋世俗人咁咧，啊以飯啊、以麵啊諸如此類嘅，話以團食為食，佢唔係啊。好啦，咁咧當富樓羅佛陀咧，佛陀受記咗富樓羅成佛之後咧，咁大眾入邊咧有1200位阿羅漢咧，就話啦個心諗啦，哇！富樓羅被佛陀受記成佛喎，如果佛陀都為其他弟子受記成佛啦嚇，咁我哋咧就會好開心啦咁。咁佛陀真係實在都知道嚇，知道呢啲弟子點諗，亦都佛陀知道佢哋係成熟嘅，亦都點樣啊？佢受記咗憍陳如同埋其他500個阿羅漢成佛。咁佢話憍陳如，大家記得憍陳如係邊個啊？憍陳如實在就係嗰5比丘啊，同個佛陀喺深山度修苦行，後尾佛陀係第一去度嗰5個比丘其中一個。咁憍陳如咧就係喺5個比丘入邊咧係最年長嘅，即係年紀最大嘅。咁佢同佢佛陀咧就受記咗憍陳如，亦都成佛。佢個名叫做普明如來。咁仲有咧就係仲有佛陀咧再受記咧有1200個阿羅漢比丘，將來亦都會成佛嘅。咁佢哋咧就好欣喜，好開心，好開心。咁咧就對佛陀喺佛陀腳前咧就鞠躬頂禮啊。咁然後咧，佢哋就講咗以下嗰個譬喻啦。Okay, so now is the English part. Okay, so Purna Maitreya need Putra. So Putra means the son. Maitrayani, that means his mother's name. So his real name is Purna. And Purna is the son of Maitrayani. So what does it mean? What's the word mean? Purna Maitrayani Putra. Actually, it means perfected metta. So there's no blemishes. It's not broken. It's not like 3/4 or 1/4 of metta. It's completed perfect metta. So, he is one of the 10 great disciples of the Buddha, and he excelled in what? Purna excelled in teachings. So that day, during that congregated assembly, and the Buddha was there, and then they were congregated there, and then he paid respect, and then he stood aside. He stood aside, and then the Buddha was giving a teachings, and then the Buddha foretold that there were 4 bhikkhus will become Buddha, will attain Buddhahood. And so he was listening to it. He was standing very quietly, and he was looking up. He was looking up to the Buddha. So he was excellent in teaching. So when he was in the congregation, he stood aside, and then he looked at the Buddha, very, very focused, and with a blink of the eye, and he looked up to the Buddha and paying attention. And the Buddha saw him, and the Buddha was praising how he was paying attention and how virtuous he was. So, and there the Buddha actually validated or forecast that Purna will attain enlightenment. And when he attained enlightenment, his name will be called the Dharma Radiance Tathagata, Dharma Prahasa. So that means he will radiate in teachings. And for him, where he resided, his land is called the well-purified land, Sufishuddha. So, Shuddha, that means land. Sufi, that means well-purified or perfectly purified. So the Buddha said, for Purna, when he actually attained Buddhahood to become Dhamma Prahasa, he will defend, uphold, and help to proclaim the Dhamma of innumerable, unlimited Buddhas. And he will teach and transform and benefit innumerable living beings and leading them towards supreme awakening. And he will also diligently persevere in teaching the living beings. Punya, when the Buddha was validating Punya, at that time, because it was such a big congregation, there were 1,200 more arahats there. And also, there was another person there. So he was, and then these 1,200 arahats saw that, wow, Punya was being forecasted or validated as the future Buddha, the Dhamma Radiance Buddha. Isn't it wonderful? And the 1,200 arahats thought, wow, if the Buddha could actually endorse us, that would be even more wonderful. But of course, they think in that way. It's actually, they are ripened to be endorsed also. In the land where Punya became the Buddha, his land is called the well-purified land. And in there, the people would only have 2 types of food. The first type of food is they delight in meditation, and the joy that they get comes from meditation. And the first is the joy when they join in the Dhamma. I missed one word. Joy when they listen to the teachings, when they listen to the Dhamma teachings, the joy that they get. And then the second food is the delight in meditation. So the first joy is because of hearing the teachings. And the second type of food is because of the delight in meditation. And for most of you who are actually meditators, you all know, you all have experience when we actually meditate, we actually need less food. Because why? We got that delight from meditation, right? The body get nourished by meditation. So these are the two food in that Buddha land where Dhamma radiance Tathagata or Punya is going to be the, and Buddha. That are those two types of food that those people in there will be actually having. Not mundane food like ours, pizza or dumplings or rice or spaghetti. No. It's this kind of food. All right? So and then these 1,200 monks thought, wow, wonderful, that Punya is going to be the Buddha. And then they thought, wow, if the Buddha could endorse us, could validate us, that would be really a joyful moment. And then the Buddha actually knew what they were thinking. And then the Buddha said, come, let me endorse you. And so the Buddha actually endorsed monk Kondinya. I don't know whether you remember him. He was one of the 5 bhikkhus who actually were the ascetics who spent those times with the Buddha in the forest. And he was the oldest one. He was the oldest one among the 5 ascetics, and who actually, after hearing the Buddha teaching about the Four Noble Truths, they actually asked to actually enter into the Sangha, become the first 5 bhikkhus of following the Buddha as their teacher. And the second one being validated, endorsed by the Buddha, was this monk Kondinya. And his name is called Universal Light Tathagata. He will be called Po Ming Yu Lai, Universal Light Tathagata. So, and then the Buddha actually further validated these 1,200 arahants, who actually, the Buddha said, you will all become Buddha in the future. Okay, so that was a very happy moment where everybody sort of like were endorsed and validated by the Buddha. And then 500 of them, okay, and then 500 of them actually got up together with Punya and Kondinya, and they all got up, and then they went to bow in front of the Buddha and said this. 咁啊，以是阿若憍陳如等嗬，等即係等於加埋嗰500個阿羅漢，欲從孫子意如說偈言。佢話：我等聞無上安忍受記聲，歡喜未曾有禮無量至佛。So having heard the voice of assurance, of unexcelled peace and comfort, we rejoice in what we never had before and pay our respect to the Buddha of incalculable wisdom. This is on page 215 in the English. 咁佢哋咧，佢禮佛，佢哋咧就好開心啦！禮無量至佛，即係話佛陀係無量嘅智慧。佢話：我哋得到受記，我哋好開心，我哋至誠恭敬去頂禮佛。好 ，so they said we've been endorsed, we've been validated, and we rejoiced. This joy we never had before, and now we pay respect to the Buddha, who has incalculable or infinite wisdom. Okay, now before the world honored one, we repent our faults and errors of all the Buddha's immeasurable treasure. 佢話：今於世尊前自悔諸過咎，於無量佛寶得少涅槃分，如無智愚人便自以為足。So now before the world-honored one, we repent our faults and errors of all the Buddha's immeasurable treasure. We have won only a bit of nirvana, Like ignorant and foolish people, we imagined that was enough. 佢哋嚟到佛前頂禮完佛嘅時候，佢喺佛前講，佢話：自悔諸過咎，我而家好慚愧，好後悔，我過往所有嘅錯誤，諸即係好多過咎錯誤，於無量佛寶得小涅槃分。喺咁多過去諸佛入邊，我今次而家得到呢個小嘅涅槃，如無智愚人，就係一個等於好似一個冇智慧嘅人，咁笨嘅人，我哋就以為好滿足啦。咁即係話點啊？即係呢個就係話呢個二乘人啊，二乘人聲聞羅漢啊，聲聞緣覺啊。佢哋得到呢個涅槃啊，以為就係滿足啦。佢哋睇唔到原來過往諸佛嗰個無量嘅智慧，嗰個先至係大涅槃。佢今日睇到啦嚇。當佛喺度受記啊，憍陳如受記富樓羅嘅時候，受記佢哋嘅時候，佢哋先至睇到，哎呀，我哋以前真係好愚笨啊！原來嗰個唔係無餘涅槃嚟㗎，原來嗰個係有餘涅槃嚟㗎。我哋就係以為咁樣就得到啦咁。So they actually they went forth and pay respect, and then they right there they admitted and they seek repentance in front of the Buddha and said, "We repent our faults and errors in the past. That so much faults and errors." Faults and errors in what? They think that they have only got into this nirvana of these lesser vehicles, and they thought that is the goal. That is, they have reached the ultimate goal. And today, after this validation, after this endorsement, that we started to know that is not the final goal. That is not the final Mahanibbana. Aren't we foolish? Aren't we ignorant? We are just like all these other ignorant and foolish people. We imagined that was the enough, that was sufficient already. So, 譬如貧窮人往自親友家，佢話就係好似 next one please。就好似呢個貧窮人咁樣啊，往自親友家，咁佢就講下邊嗰個故事啦。嗱，譬如啦嘛，就係開始講呢個譬喻啦。OK， 咁啊，我哋睇睇呢個譬喻係咩咯？So it's like this poor man going to their families or friends' house. Okay, so and then they said they actually. This parable was told by these 500 arahants, and what's his name? Kondinya. Okay, so 呢個譬喻實在係憍陳如同埋呢500比丘係講嘅，唔係佛陀講嘅，係佢哋講嘅。So 去到朋友屋企啦，嚇。So they arrive to the friend's place. 我分開一係好似前2日咁分開段故仔講嚇，分開好多段故仔講有人出門啦，衣服接中咧就縫上寶珠，未之後醉醒，遊行他國，為衣食勤力求索，得少便為足。於後再會親友。So I will divide them into different parts. The one is drunk and fell asleep, and then friend left for official business, and then the friend before he left saw a precious jewel onto the lining of the man's robe, and then he woke up and not knowing. Then he went away to other lands, had to use much energy and effort to find food and clothing. When he did, even though undergoing extreme hardship, he thought that was enough. And he met his friend again who told him about the jewel. So, let us look at this. 喝醉倒下，佢飲醉酒，喺個朋友屋企飲醉酒，瞓低咗啦。咁係代表咩呢？咩意思呢？即係代表一個人啊，個煩惱未斷嘅眾生呢，就好似飲醉酒嘅人一樣。點啊？烏下烏下，蒙查查蒙查查。有時做咗嘢都唔知自己做咗嘢，講咗嘢唔知自己講咗嘢。喝醉倒下。好啦，咁嗰個朋友呢就要出門啦。呢個朋友係邊個呢？呢個朋友呢實在係菩薩，係代表菩薩。呢個菩薩要出門，點解呢個菩薩要出門呢？呢個菩薩要出門，即係話佢喺呢個朋友嘅屋企，就係匿喺呢笪地方，呢個國土。呢個朋友要出門咧，呢個菩薩已經度化，都要度化咗啦。呢個菩薩要去第二個地方去度化第二啲人啦。咁所以咧，呢個菩薩咧應化意境離往他國，呢個就係呢個意思啦。呢個就係呢個友人就係菩薩啦。咁第三個係衣服雜中縫補。喺佢件衣袍入邊嗰啲雜啊，即係好似我哋呢啲咁嘅雜入邊咧，佢個好朋友啊，就將一粒好無價嘅寶珠咧，就將佢收埋咗，縫咗喺入邊。咁實際呢個朋友咧，就係希望佢點樣啊？希望佢可以用呢粒寶珠，將來賣咗呢粒寶珠咧，可以為生嘅。咁呢個衣服雜中縫補究竟係咩意思咧？呢個意思就係呢個菩薩實在係已經喺我哋個心田入邊俾咗好多種子我哋，種咗咩種子啊？呢個大乘佛法嘅種子，成佛之道嘅種子，但係偏偏我哋就唔知道啊。OK， so he went to his friend's place, he got drunk and fell asleep. So when somebody is drunk, what do? They either fall asleep or they do anything that they don't remember. They say anything that they won't remember. They become so clouded, right? So clouded. And what does it mean by drunk and fell asleep? That means beings, their defilements are not eradicated yet. The defilements are like these blockages, are like these curtains, and like these fogs, like these clouds clouding over it. That means ignorant. Drunk and fell asleep, that means ignorant. And then the next one is the friend is leaving for official businesses. So his friend must be in high power, leaving for official businesses. So what does this friend mean? What analogous to? This friend is actually means a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva haven't done his share of teaching in this land, has to leave this land to go to other land. So he's going out for a trip, to travel to other places, to what? To teach other sentient beings. Okay, so this friend is a bodhisattva. Okay, then the next one is, before the friend left the house, this guy is already drunk. Okay, so drunk. But this friend, before he left, he actually sewed a very precious jewel into the lining. It says lining, but it's actually, in the Chinese, it's sort of like the creases, you know, the creases of the rope. So he sewed a precious jewel into the creases of the rope. And what does it mean? It means this Bodhisattva has already given us all these seeds of the great vehicle. And all these seeds have already been planted in our mind. All these teachings have already been taught to us. Okay? So when you read the sutra, you never understand this is the story behind this. Right? We read, and you will never understand what's the analogy behind this. This is the analogy. Okay? So let us go on. 未知後罪性，咁佢個朋友縫嗰個珠寶喺佢個衫嘅時候，佢一啲都唔知嘅喎，因為佢醉咗嘛，醉咗之後咧，佢醒翻啦，佢唔知道佢朋友將個珠寶縫咗喺佢個衫嗰度喎。咁呢個有咩意思咧？呢個動作又係解咩意思咧？咁呢個動作咧，即係話咧，我哋冇覺知啊！我哋冇覺知，我哋就俾啲所有嘅煩惱、所有嘅我見、所有嘅人見、所有嘅貪嗔痴咧，點樣啊？全部遮蔽住晒我哋啊！因為我哋冇咗呢個覺知，未知後罪性。咁啊，佢唔知道嘛，佢冇覺知啦。好啦，醒咗啦，咁點樣啊？個朋友又走咗啦，又冇得喺嗰度住啦。咁佢點樣啊？咁咪就走咯，佢又走咯喎，佢就遊行他國啦。佢點解會遊行他國咧？遊行他國又代表咩意思咧？遊行他國咧，即係代表，因為佢瞓醒咗，佢醉醒咗，佢好多煩惱。佢冇覺知，佢唔能夠安住喺佢而家個所在地入邊，即係等於咩嘢咧？實在我哋大家都好多時都會經驗啊！我哋尤其是我哋打坐嘅時候，我哋好多時會經驗啊！我哋好啦，留意呼吸，留意呼吸，留意呼吸。喺留意呼吸，實在係我哋個所在地。喺嗰一刻，我哋係應該留意呼吸。好，突然間聞到。哇！隔離屋煮啲唔知咩咁香咧咁，點知個心咧就走咗去啦，走咗去聞佢嗰啲香味啦。又或者點樣啊？又或者聽聞喎，我嗰個師兄同我講啊，嗰度咧有一個乜嘢嘅上師啊，乜嘢嘅尊貴嘅乜啊，咁咧喺嗰度教嗰啲乜嘅法啊，我哋又去啦，又去聽啦咁。咁一陣又今日去聽嗰度，聽日去嗰度，後日去嗰度，咁咧點樣啊？對佛陀嘅教法咧，完全點樣啊？冇能夠可以落實啊！咁啊點啊？今日去修下呢個道，聽日去修下嗰個法，後日又去修下嗰個唔知乜嘢，咁就亂七八糟，就唔能夠安住喺佛陀所教嘅法入邊。咁呢個叫遊行他國，呢個就係遊行他國嘅意思。好啦，然後佢話為衣食勤力求索，為衣食勤力求索，咁係代表咩意思咧？即係話。佢去到第二笪地方啦，佢離開咗佢個本土啦，佢都要食㗎，係咪啊？佢要好勤力，去做工，好勤力去揾嘢食，都不得法。咁呢個咩意思咧？佢去到第二個地方啦，去到第二個地方，佢真係想發心修行。Next one please，想發心修行，希望能夠得到解脫，但係點樣啊？困難重重啊！做唔到啊！困難重重做唔到啊！因為點解啊？佢喺嗰笪地方唔係正法嘅地方嘛，佢一定係困難重重啦。佢點可能可以得到解脫啫？係咪？只有你留喺正法嘅地方，你修正法，你先至可以得到解脫嘛。你唔係嘅話，根本就做唔到啊。OK， 好啦。Woke up and not knowing. So he was drunk. And when this friend, the Bodhisattva, saw this jewel, into his robe. He didn't know. So what does it mean by woke up and not knowing, or not knowing and then he woke up? Actually, it means he doesn't have any awareness. He wasn't aware that this friend actually sold a precious jewel into his robe. That means his mind is defiled. His mind was ignorant. Just like us, when we were supposed to be watching our breath and feeling our breath and watching how it comes in, how it goes out, and how it's changing. But all of a sudden, this thought come up, and we just follow, and we forgot. And then we started multiplying. Whatever that thought wanted us to multiply, we just roll on like a snowball. Because we lost the awareness. So he did not know, and then he woke up and not knowing, so he thought, well, my friend is not here anymore, and I need to leave this place. So he went away to other lands. So what does it mean by he went away to other lands? It means that he cannot focus on this practice right here, right now. The practice of what the Buddha taught him, what the Bodhisattva has actually taught him, has actually gave him all the seeds. So then he cannot focus, and he started to where? To go and seek other things, right? Just like us. Just like us. Well, today I practice Anapana. Well, tomorrow I'll go and do the cemetery. And then the next day I'll go and do whatever. And then the next day, oh no, this is not good. I will go and look for other things, look for other practices. So we left the land. We left the land because we left the practice of the correct Dharma. The land is where it holds that correct Dharma. And we left it. We were ignorant. We went away because we were not aware. So when he left that place, he went away. Then he had to use much energy and effort to find food and clothing and work and all that. So what does it mean by this? It means that even though he wanted to become liberated, next one please. He wanted to become liberated. He wanted to seek liberation, but it was so difficult. Why? Because he was not practicing the right practice, the right Dharma. So he will never be able to become liberated because he was not practicing that right Dharma. That the Bodhisattva has left him, right? Has already given him. He wasn't practicing. So that is the analogy. So then he goes on. Well, he got a little bit. 好啦，得小便為足。好啦，佢真係喺嗰邊好勤力啦，但係佢只係得到好少。佢真係得到好少，覺得咁辛苦算啦，我都夠啦，即係等於啲乞丐咁啦。哦，算啦，我今日揾到2毫子，我買到個麵包我就算啦。我唔想乞多啲啦，我唔想得到2蚊，我可以買麵包買水果啦。佢得小便為足，呢個代表咩意思呢？成佛之道太遠啦，成佛之道太遠啦。我得到呢個小乘呢個涅槃，我已經足夠啦，我唔再去啦。佢一得到呢個小乘嘅涅槃，佢已經點啊？黏住咗喺嗰度，唔再想去繼續上去啦。即係唔好似琴日去到化城咁啊，半途而廢啊，得小便為足。咁然後咧，點知咧過咗幾年之後咧，佢再見到佢個朋友啦。見到佢個朋友咧，呢個係咩意思咧？即係話釋迦佛咧再現娑婆世界啊！釋迦佛2600年前啊，再現娑婆世界點樣啊？希望再教化我哋嘅眾生。佢現出嚟就係 希望再弘法啫嘛，讓我哋能夠聽聞佛法啫嘛。實在佢使唔使再示現啊？佢唔需要再示現啊。但係因為佢慈悲，因為佢有智慧，所以佢再出現。So these last two sections. So he undergoing extreme hardship, but he managed to make ends meet. So, but it's just like a pauper, like a beggar, and so they managed to make 20 cents, enough to buy some bread. Then he said, "Oh, that's good enough. I'm not going to wait to get $2. So instead of just bread, then he would be able to buy some fruits." But he thought, no, this is enough already. This is sufficient. This is too much. I can't go on. 20 cents is enough. So, what does it mean by this? Worry and fearful. The path to that Buddhahood, to that final goal, is just too difficult. So when he actually was able to attain this little nirvana, because of this lesser vehicle, he was completely satisfied. He said, I don't want to go on. So it was just like those beings, just like that big group of people we talked about yesterday. Remember? In the middle, right halfway, they said, I'm not going to go forward. Oh, this is too difficult. This is such a hard road. I wanted to turn back, right? So this is exactly the same. So then, the next one is, after a few years, he went through this hardship, but he was so satisfied that he just had this little, he was okay. He didn't want to strive forward, but after a few years, he was backing along. Then he met his friend again, and this friend told him about the jewel. And what is this friend again? Who is this friend? This friend actually is the Buddha, Gautama the Buddha. Gautama the Buddha was born again this lifetime, 2,600 years ago. Why? For the sake of teaching the teachings again. So that is the whole metaphor behind this jewel, this priceless jewel. So you can see this friend, actually, he was there before. He has always been there, but it's just that he didn't see him. It's just like us. The teachings have always been there, but we didn't see it. The teachings have always been there, but when we are defiled and we don't see it. 實在講乜嘢啊？實在佛法成日都喺度，佛陀2600年前喺度，2600年前之前佢都喺度。但係因為我哋點啊？我哋煩惱眾生，我哋睇唔到。尤其是我哋一生起貪嗔癡煩惱嘅時候，所有法都不在我哋眼前，都不在我哋心中，都已經遠離晒我哋啦。佢話呢個我哋咪就好似呢個飲醉酒嘅眾生。So we are no different than this drunk person, right? So when 當佢再見到呢個親友嘅時候，佢就覺得哇！佢就見到佢話：與諸之親友，後見此貧人，苦切責之意，是意所繫諸。呢個朋友見到佢嘅時候，責怪佢啦：你做乜嘢啊？我縫咗粒珠喺你件衫度喎，你唔知道咩？咁佢話：我唔知喎。貧人見此珠，其心大歡喜，富有諸財物，五欲而自恣。佢 佢話：哇！我見到呢粒珠真係好開心啊！哇！咁我可以賣咗呢粒珠咧，我就可以點樣？可以去滿足我嘅等等嘅慾望嘅。我等亦如是，世尊於長夜常聞見教化，令眾無上願啊！佢話我哋何嘗唔係咁樣啊？世尊啊，佛陀啊，日日夜夜啊，慈悲問我哋啊，慈悲念我哋啊，希望教導我哋啊，希望我哋令眾無上願種啊，呢個種種子嘅種啊，種落去啊，希望我哋點樣能夠發無上嘅心，希望我哋發大心成佛道呢個心啊！我等無智故，不覺亦不知，得小涅槃分自足不求餘啊！佢話我哋因為愚蠢啊，因為我哋冇智慧啊，又冇覺知啊，所以我哋完全蒙查查，得到少少嘅喜悅啊，得到少少嘅涅槃啊，已經覺得足夠啦，唔再去追求啦，唔再去精進啦。今佛覺悟我，言非實滅道，得佛無上慧已，乃為真滅啊！而家佛陀啊，讓到我明白到啊，原來呢個唔係究竟嘅路啊！得到呢個小涅槃分，唔係真真正正可以滅苦嘅道啊！言非實滅道啊，唔係真正可以滅苦嘅道啊！唔係真正可以從此岸到彼岸嗰條船啊！佢而家得佛無上慧已，乃為真滅，得到好似佛陀嗰個無量無上嘅智慧，先至為真真正正嘅滅道。佢終於見到呢個大乘法啦，呢個二乘人終於見到呢個大乘法啦。Okay, so at last they realized about this highest aspiration. Seeing this jewel, the poor man was filled. That is on page 217. So seeing this jewel, the poor man was filled with a great joy. Being rich in valuables and other goods, he could satisfy the 5 desires. He was so happy when his friend showed him this jewel. He was so happy that he said, wow, I could easily satisfy my 5 desires. And this is how we were too. For long, the world-honored one constantly took pity on us and taught us to cultivate the highest aspiration. For so long that the Buddha actually has been teaching us, I really don't like this pity, this word pity. I like the word compassion. Pity is like he's so superior, he's looking down on us. But the Buddha never looked down on us. The Buddha has always looked at us with compassion and wisdom. So I would say constantly have compassion on us and taught us to cultivate the highest aspiration. What is the highest aspiration? The highest aspiration is aspire to reach this final goal of Samma Sambuddha. But because of our ignorance, we neither perceived nor knew this. Because we are so blind, we don't see it, and we don't know this. And having gained just a little bit of nirvana, we were satisfied and sought no more. And because we were so ignorant, when we actually achieved that little attainment, and we think that this is it, I am satisfied, I don't need to go on further, and there is no need to go on further, and there is nothing to go further to strive for. Now the Buddha has awakened us, saying this is not the real way to extinction, the extinction of defilements, the extinction of all deep and surface defilements. And only with the attainment of the unexcelled Buddha wisdom is there real distinction, is there real traveling from this bank of the river to that bank of the river. Only then we will be able to reach the other bank of the river. So that is, the Buddha has already long time ago, he has already told us, he has already planted those seeds in us, because the truth is always in the universe. Whether the Buddha was born or not, the truth is there. But we didn't see it because we were ignorant. 我實在佛法啦，無論佛陀有出世有冇出世都好，佛陀講嘅真理，呢個正法實在就係宇宙存在嘅真理。呢個真理實在時常都在，無論佛陀是否在，呢個真理都在。所以實在呢個佛法已經係不停喺呢度。我哋前咁多生流轉咗咁多生，實在每一生我哋都應該係見到佛法嘅，但係我哋見唔見到呢？我哋見唔到，點解？因為我哋冇明多啊！而家今生我哋真真正正開展啦，聽大乘法嘅時候，我哋真係要好珍惜呢個機緣。So now we have wandered for so many eons of life, and every life that we wandered into, the truth of existence is always there. But we were blind, we were ignorant, that's why we didn't see it. You see what it meant by that? He's always there. He has already planted those seeds there, because the truth is always there in the universe. So now this lifetime, we have this fortunate opportunity to encounter these great teachings, the teachings of this one Buddha vehicle. We need to actually be grateful, and we need to aspire, and we need to strive forward to practice this. Okay? So, this whole simile, this whole metaphor, 世尊啊，譬如有人至親友家，即係話開始講嗰段文啊，由去飲醉酒，去到朋友出門啦，同佢縫個珠寶嚇，直到去點啊？去到離開呢笪地方，去到第二笪地方，揾到少少充飢，去便以為足。呢個係一個方便門，呢個就係一個方便門，呢個就係叫權法啦。即係你《法華經》係講開權顯實啊嘛，呢個就係權法，呢個就係方便法。方便法。好啦，咁實法係乜嘢啊？實法就係佢話，實法就係話，親友會遇之啊，宜作是言：撮哉，丈夫何為衣食乃至如是啊？佢話你點解變成咁樣啊？我嗰陣時放咗粒珠喺你嗰個身度，希望你能夠可以得到安樂，得到滿足。某年某月，我將件寶珠係咗喺你釘咗喺你件衣服嗰度，希望你能夠得到滿足。直到而家你都唔知啊！勤苦憂勞以求自活，甚為痴也。你咁樣咁艱難，實在因為你愚痴，你無明啊！你而家可以得到呢個寶珠啦，你可以將佢點樣啊？賣咗之後，你可以點啊？常可如意，無所乏短啊！你就可以得到你想得到嘅乜嘢啦。咁即係話，而家你得到呢個大乘嘅佛法啦。如果你能夠好好去用呢個大乘嘅佛法嘅話，無所乏短啊！你唔會有缺乏啊！你將來唔會有缺乏。咩缺乏？缺乏乜嘢啊？缺乏成佛嘅資糧咯。呢個就係整個第八品，第十三品係嘛？第八品啊！我讀得太多，記到亂晒。第八品呢個譬喻話俾我哋聽嘅， 點樣《法華經》係點樣將呢個開權顯實整部《法華經》實在就係講一樣嘢，就係開權顯實，話俾我哋聽一乘法係幾咁嘅殊勝。好啦 ，OK，so this skillful means from here is 215 actually is the beginning of the whole story. The world-honored one, it is as if some man went to a good friend's place being drunk and then fell asleep, and the friend saw a precious jewel, and then he woke up not knowing, then he went away to other lands, and then he strived with difficulty and make sand meat, and he attained a little bit, and he was satisfied. And that is the skillful means. That is what it means, the skillful means, that he was satisfied with just that little. So remember and then let's finish the next one. But the ultimate means is later his friend happened to meet him and said to him, "How sad, old friend, why do you have to do this for the sake of food and clothing? I already sold this priceless jewel into your robe. So I expect you to be so rich and satisfy all the 5 desires long time ago. But you were so ignorant. You didn't know. That's why you had to suffer, and you had to be so poor. And then you get that little nirvana, and you think that it was so wonderful, and you were so attached to it. You didn't want to strive forward. Now, the jewel is here. It belongs to you. Take this and sell it, and whatever you want to get, you will get it." So the skillful means of sewing this jewel in there. And he attained this, even with not knowing this jewel, because he strived forward, he worked hard, he attained this nirvana of the lesser vehicle, the svaraka, and he was so satisfied, he didn't want to go forward, but then that was the skillful means. But then this friend reminded him, there is this big jewel here, there is this priceless jewel here. Use this priceless jewel to get what you want, to aspire to the wonderland. So that means ask him to aspire to striving further to reach this final goal of total ultimate liberation. So this is the ultimate means. So you remember the whole Lotus Sutra actually is using skillful means to exemplify, to teach the ultimate means. The whole Lotus Sutra, each chapter. But each chapter, it presents differently. It gives you a different metaphor. It gives you a different teaching. Why? Because, as I said in the first night, I want you to do some homework, is to find out, is to contemplate which metaphor, which story inspire you most. Because we are all different, right? So all these stories, some story inspired you, others more, some story inspired the other more, because we take in differently. So that's why this whole Lotus Sutra is actually talking about this skillful means leading us into this seeking the ultimate goal, the path to the ultimate goal. Okay? 所以呢個方便法引我哋入去大乘，就等於好似我第一晚叫大家請大家翻去做功課邊一個比喻你覺得係對你嚟講係最深刻印象或者你最喜歡或者最能夠觸動到你，因為我哋個個聽嘅都會唔同嘅感受所以咧整個《法華經》入邊咧咁多品咧都係係以一個方便法佢講呢個大乘法，希望我哋能夠回小向大。OK， So this jewel, this gem is really not far away. It's so close to us, but yet we didn't see it. It's very, very close by. OK， 所以實在啊，呢個法啊，呢粒明珠啊，成日喺我哋身邊嘅，但係我哋點啊？我哋忽略咗佢，我哋唔記得咗佢，我哋忘記咗佢啊！我今日要同大家分享一首一個法師叫寳林旭，佢係宋朝嘅一個和尚，佢個開悟偈，我諗你哋都聽過嘅。I'm going to share with you a gatha which was spoken by a monk, P'ling Yuk, from the Song dynasty, almost like 唐宋元明清 1700 years ago maybe， 係咪？宋朝係咪1700年到啊？2000年1700年啊？嗬，唐宋元明清，有2000年啦 ，almost 2000 years ago. This is a gatha that he spoke when he actually attained enlightenment. 你哋如果係學祖師禪嘅咧，就一定聽過㗎啦。佢話：我有明珠一個，久被塵勞關鎖。今朝塵盡光生，照破山河萬朵。實在呢首詩啊，就係講到乜嘢？我有明珠一個，我哋每一個人啊，都有呢一個明珠。久被塵勞關鎖，一路都俾咩啊？俾所有嘅塵啊，俾一個勞累啊，冚唪唥封鎖晒，即係俾我哋嘅貪嗔痴，我哋所有嘅煩惱啊。今朝塵盡光生啊！今日啊，鋪喺呢個明珠上面嘅塵啊，全部冇晒啦，吹走晒啦。佢冚唪唥閃耀啊，啲光閃耀啊，照破山河萬朵啊！呢個山河萬朵啊，即係等於點啊？呢個光啊，光到咧，將呢個山啊同埋河啊，千千萬萬嘅山，千千萬萬條河，讓佢點啊變成一朵朵花，即係好似將佢打破晒咁樣嘅，將呢個山河全部打破晒，成為碎片啊！呢首詩啊，實在同呢一個偈，今日呢個譬喻啊，係好夾㗎，好夾啊！我有明珠一個，久被塵勞關鎖。今朝塵盡光生，照破山河萬朵啊！我哋應該大家要共勉啊。Okay, so this is the poem I translated. So it wasn't translated, but I translated it. So it says, I have a shining pearl. We all have a shining pearl. He said, I have a shining pearl. But it's been covered with dust for a long, long time. And what is the dust? What does dust analogous to? Our defilements, our afflictions, our greed, our anger, our ill will, our animosity, our ignorance, our doubts, our arrogance. Being covered for a long, long time, eons, many lives. And today all the dust is gone and the light start to rise or start to shine or start to glitter. And the dust is all gone. That means it's totally what? No defilements, completely sunnata, emptiness. And then started to brighten up. The light started to shine and shines over hundreds of thousands of mountains and rivers. Not just shines over them, not just radiates. The light is so penetrating, actually, it breaks these mountains and rivers into pieces. Into pieces. So there's no mountains, there's no river. But yet there are mountains, there are rivers. So if you read Diamond Sutra, you will know what I'm talking about. There are mountains, but yet there are no mountains. But yet there are mountains. Mountains and not mountains, but yet there are mountains. So this is the actually the enlightenment gatha of this monk. And I think this actually echoed with the teachings tonight, very much, with our teachings tonight. We all have this wonderful pearl, but yet it's been covered for so long, eons of life. And let us wait for the day when this pearl is clean of all the dust and start to shine and start to radiate and break up all the mountains and all the rivers. There will be one day. There will be one day. Okay? So that's it for tonight. Anything else? Okay. 今日係一個特別嘅日子。Today is a special day. Very special day. Actually, very memorable day. 一個好值得記住嘅日子啊。Next slide, please. 今日係我師父老和尚往生10週年。Today is the 10 years anniversary of my venerable Sifu passing. It's today. 我好感動。I'm very touched. 我希望我身為弟子嘅，做得嘅少少嘅嘢，都係因為師父俾咗個機會。我今日能夠坐喺度同大家分享法華經，都係因為師父嘅成就。佢成就咗，俾咗我出家，成就咗，俾咗我過到嚟呢度寶林，喺呢度成長，呢個無限嘅感恩，不以為報，唔知點樣報答，就唯有點樣繼續努力，繼續加油，就好似嗰啲眾生咁，一路往前精進。以報佛恩，以報師恩。So I'm very touched. I'm very emotional today because this is 10th anniversary. I was supposed to be in Hong Kong today, or yesterday in Hong Kong. Supposed to be there to go to that 10th anniversary. 實在我係預咗係返香港嘅。喺琴日應該喺香港嘅，因為係佢嘅係師父10週年嘅圓寂嘅10週年但係因為呢個疫情，所以留咗喺度喺度講法華經。So I'm very touched. I'm very emotional. Emotional not being sad, but I'm very grateful because today I'm able to sit here because my Sifu has given me a chance. My Sifu have given me an opportunity to become a monastic. And he has given me an opportunity to actually grow in here in Canada. Asked me to come here, to stay here for this last 25 years. It has given me such a big opportunity to really grow. And today I'm able to sit here to share with you about my understanding of Lotus Sutra is all because of this opportunity that was given by my Sifu. I'm forever in debt. I'm forever grateful. So I needed to bring this up today. So 我係無限嘅感恩，無量嘅感恩，所以我今日一定要將呢件事係提返出嚟。 所以我好希望咧，如果你哋係師父嘅座下嘅徒弟嚇，或者係徒孫，我哋要記得老人家點樣為法忘軀。佢一生人只係做一樣嘢，就係護法。護法，護法當然入邊包括乜嘢？包括行法同説法，同埋表法。呢個係老人家呢一生人做嘅嘢。So if any of you are the students of 師父 or the grand students of 師父, remember, bear in your mind what your 師父, your 師公 has done for us. For his whole life, he only did one thing. One thing is to preserve the teachings, the Dharma. And of course, in that preservation, he practiced, he taught, and he presented it as a role model. So, you have a role model right in front of you. This is your 師父, your 師公, and maybe we will never be able to catch up with him, but we can look up to him as a role model. 我哋追唔上師父嘅，但係我哋可以以佢為我哋個榜樣，俾心機努力。So let us keep striving. Okay? 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 Okay. All right. 好，冇啦吓，好啦。All right. Okay. So we will dedicate our merits. 願以此功德普及於一切我等與眾生，皆共成佛道。May these blessings extend to all, that we with all the living beings together will attain the Buddha way. Okay, see you tomorrow. Another moon night. Okay, see you tomorrow. Remember your homework. 記得你哋要交功課㗎，知唔知啊？Don't forget your homework. 我哋今日講咗，到今日我哋講咗幾多個譬喻啊？ How many parables have we talked about up till now? 5, yes. Good. 5, not 3. 5. 3 plus 2. 5. One more thing. 我唔記得你哋有邊幾個有邊位有參加嗰陣時喺寶林嘅3日禪啊？就係第一次喺寶林做3日禪嘅時候，就師父往生嗰年，係2010年。I think you were here 2010 for the 3 days meditation. That was the year where 師公 passed away. That was during that third day in the morning. Yeah, I got the news in the morning, late morning. Yeah. That morning, I got the news that he will soon go. That was the 2010, 10 years ago. That was the first 3 days meditation retreat. Yeah. Long time ago, eh? 有邊個你哋有邊位參加過道上道上啊？2010年3日禪啊，得道上一位咋？阿確有份，我記得阿確有份。好啦 ，OK， 好啦 ，good night 啦。